What, in your opinion, is considered a crime against food? I also have a friend like this. His mashed potatoes are tasteless even though he said he salted them twice. I encouraged him to try more spices and herbs, even have him some examples of what I use. Next time he cooked, he said he added extra seasoning just for my flair and it was god-awful. He just salted the absolute out of it, then tried to blame it on me by saying it's what I asked for. Right? With some dishes I can understand why the cook may be offended. I learned this the hard way when I put pepper on the tamales my fiancé's mother made, even though salt, lime, and salsa are apparently totally fine, even expected, but with a burger condiments are pretty standard fare. It seems much weirder to eat a burger without any condiments. It also sounds incredibly dry, especially if it's a BBQ burger. If you find yourself with a perishable food item in your cart that you've changed your mind about, keep it in there. It's understandable that you don't want to backtrack, especially if you're on a tight schedule. I'm being nice here. Hand it to your cashier saying I don't want this anymore, please put it aside. Guess what? They'll do just that and they won't even sneer at you. If that's what you were afraid of, what's the point of going all the way to the checkout area only to stash it somewhere where it won't be found for hours? Self-checkout, same story, except there you don't even have to talk to anyone. Just leave it on the shelf thingy where you place your items before scanning. Before the next customer uses the machine, a self-checkout host will grab the item and toss it in the perishable go-backs bin. Doctor, there's no excuse for wasting unpaid for merchandise. There are starving children in America. I can't speak for all retailers, only the two I've sold corners of my soul to. Employees do not in fact rush those products back to the bunkers or freezers. Not only do they usually not have the time, but also the official food safety stance is that you don't know how long that food was out of refrigeration before they handed it over. A touch test isn't reliable, so those products are trash either way. If everyone is following food safety, you prevent no waste this way. What handing it to an employee does do is make sure it's claimed out and disposed of correctly, instead of found hidden behind and under the dry dog food pallets. You lazy, filthy monsters. Or that whole ass gallon of lukewarm milk I found left literally in the middle of Action Alley between housewares and apparel. Just ... Why? A friend asked me recently if white people really eat fruit with mayonnaise. It used to be part of the dressing for fruit salad because it was more shelf-stable than most other dairy products, and some people still continue the tradition but usually cut the mayo with yogurt, sour cream, etc. I regret that. I think I have to go back to her now and say that apparently some people do eat fruit with mayo. Edit. Okay, I get it. Eggs aren't dairy. Mayo is more shelf-stable than dairy products of comparable texture. Yeah, it can work with certain savory dishes, like mole sauce, in chili, in a spice rub. But notice all of those are rich, highly spiced combos where the chocolate is adding a hint of depth and is definitely not the dominant flavor. But cooking show pressure to be creative, plus chocolate is usually a recipe for everyone to go, why for the love of God did you ruin this beautiful piece of fish? Before prom in junior year of HS, my friends and I all went to a nice restaurant and played at being high class. My best friend had a severe fear of foodborne illness but wanted to be fancy. so she ordered a nice steak well done. The waiter asked her if she was sure. One of the kitchen guys came out to ask if she was sure and tried to talk her down to medium well. She wouldn't budge, and was given a piece of charred shoe leather on a plate. I'll never forget the look on her face as she realized that she fucked up. Well-done steak does not have to be shoe leather. A good steakhouse will explain that the well-done steak will take 30 minutes to prepare and that the meal will be delayed as a result. If someone really wants one, they'll happily wait. Sometimes there's an additional charge for the trouble. Burning the meat to shoe leather is a petty response meant to discourage customers from ordering something that slows down flipping the table. It's a punishment. It is not just what happens when a steak is cooked well done. Brisket is cooked at even hotter temperatures and it is tender and juicy all the way through. There is a big difference between brisket and a steak. A brisket has a lot of collagen and fat that needs to break down so it isn't chewy, tough, and dry. That is why brisket is cooked to a higher temp. It also needs to be held at a higher temp for longer to allow the collagen to break down. When I smoke a brisket and it finally gets up to around 200 degrees, it gets wrapped in foil and then wrapped in towels and tossed in a cooler for a few hours. Not saying a well-done steak can't be tender or anything, but cooking brisket isn't a good comparison. When I was a kid in Texas, I had a British teenage babysitter. One day, she set her kitchen on fire trying to make beans on toast. After it was out, we had 3 slices of toast, a ruined toaster, and no idea where the beans went. Struggling with finding a way to make an afternoon snack from the wreckage, she opened a jar of peanut butter and made peanut butter on toast. Her mother arrived soon after. She took the damage in stride, didn't flinch, just hugged her kid, but she gaped in horror and lectured her daughter about the audacity of feeding a child peanut butter toast for tea, that she should have asked the neighbors for help rather than serve that. I'm still not sure what is so wrong with peanut butter, or they had it if they hated it so much. It's not authentic Italian marinara because my nonna. Nobody cares about your nonna. Authentic is used over and over again to see who can out-gatekeep the others. What the hell does authentic even mean? If it has tomatoes in it, it's not authentic Italian because tomatoes are a New World crop and Italy is Old World. Or we can face the fact that foods change through time and space. Agriculture has gone global and thus ingredients have gone global, and even individual Italians will disagree about what is or isn't Italian. And let's not even get into the trade guilds getting laws passed to gatekeep even more to support their local businesses. Looking at you, San Marzano tomatoes. My mill is a hoarder, and sucks at food safety. I don't eat her cooking. I don't need food poisoning that bad, thanks. When we lived close to her, 3,000 miles of distance, baby, she would get huffy that I would flat refuse to eat anything she cooked, and so would my husband. He finally told her that she has expired food in her fridge, and grain moths in her pantry, and we're not going to get food poisoning just to stroke her ego, and besides, she can't cook anyway. The shitty preformed American cheese product is actually useful for at least one other thing. If you're making mac and cheese from scratch, those slices act as a convenient source of sodium citrate, an emulsifier that helps make your sauce smoother. I usually use fairly little of the cheese product so it doesn't affect taste. Of course, you could just buy food-grade sodium citrate, if you really wanted to. Overcooking a nice steak. IMO, medium rare is a must for a nice steak. If you really cannot handle that much pink, go medium at most. Even medium to me is too far. But maybe for a child a medium is okay if you haven't taught them better. People who go well done or even more on a steak, why bother with a steak at that point? You are overcooking it, making it a tougher meat to chew, drying it out, losing flavor. Why bother? If you want something super well done, just go with another meat like chicken at that point. Also, I've heard people say I don't like a bloody steak. It's not blood, Lamel. The pink, red juices is not blood, it's myoglobin. Butchered meat doesn't just have blood spurting out of it, lol. Also, if your steak is pissing myoglobin as soon as you cut into it, you likely didn't let it rest long enough after cooking. Don't cut your steak immediately off the grill. Let it sit on a cutting board for 5 to 10 minutes. This lets the steak rest and the juices and myoglobin will soak back into the meat fibers to make it juicy. If you cut a steak immediately, all the juice pisses out of the steak and you get a drier meat. I like the taste of well-done steak, and I don't like the texture of the meat jelly of rare steak. I also like chicken, so when I want chicken I have that, and when I want a well-done steak I have one. I've never understood why other people care how I eat my steak. It's something someone absolutely has to comment on every time I order it. It's like one of those weird things that people pin their masculinity on, as if eating soft pink meat is somehow more manly than tough charred meat. If someone can show me a food that tastes like a well-done steak, then I'll order that next time. Until they do though, I'll keep having my lump of dead animal the way I want it. As someone who worked in steakhouses for a long time, I don't care, but these are the two circumstances where I do. 1. Don't get annoyed when your food is taking a long time. Well done means cooked longer, especially if you order a large cut of meat. 2. Don't waste your money on an expensive cut, particularly a filet mignon. What makes a filet special is how soft and tender it is. For the most part, cooking it well eliminates that. To be clear, I don't care what you do. Everyone should eat what they want. I'm not telling people what to do. I was just answering Op's question. To me, overcooking a steak is a crime against food because it's ruining a steak. IMO. For the above reasons. But if you enjoy that, I'm certainly not stopping you. Enjoy what you enjoy. Don't listen to some random on Reddit Lamel. I don't think anyone who says that has had much outside of the Kraft singles, which does taste like garbage. Even moderately upgraded American cheeses like Land O'Lakes White American are absolutely delicious, salty and tangy, and does melt extremely well. People will complain that it's processed, but so is all cheese. That aged cheddar you like isn't coming straight out the cow's titty like that, it goes through the whole cheese making process. My fiancé is Scottish, and I've told her about this so I don't feel bad saying this, but I believe the UK cuisine makes the most crimes against food, after the US of course. Like one of the most popular sandwiches in the UK is an abomination known as chip butty. It's French fries on bread. So basically carbs on carbs. Sometimes they even put a bag of chips in a bread bun and eat it. I'll never understand that. Adding condiments before tasting anything. Someone has prepared a dish for you, and I consider it very disrespectful to add a bunch of ketchup to something I just handed to you. Did you even try my ragu before dumping a shit ton of Kraft Parmesan wood flakes on it? Would it kill you to try the chili before dumping sour cream all over it? Also, adding seasoning to the food while the person is cooking it when no one asked and you just assumed. This happened while I was deployed and I haven't gotten over it. My unit was doing a cookout and our commander knows I am a legit chef back home. He asked me to prepare some shrimps however would taste good. I marinated them for a bit and grilled them. Some jerk from another group came out to the cookout and assumed I was a novice. They took a handful of some seasoning, I still don't know what it is, and threw it on while I was still cooking. I grew upset and had to walk away. My jimmies are still ruffled on this. Not mine, but a restaurant's. Ketchup on their fries. Specifically their fries. There's a beach restaurant called Thrasher's in my area. They have amazing fries, made with salt and vinegar. They do not serve them with ketchup. Someone who used to work there years ago told me that whenever someone would come in and get fries, and then ask for ketchup, the cashier would just take something like a fly swatter and smack a nearby sign that said something like "Do not put ketchup on these fries." 'Tis a mortal sin of and a slap in the face to all who reside in the Mid-Atlantic region. Probably an unpopular opinion, but putting 50 million spices on meat, the only thing meat usually needs, if it needs anything, is salt. Spice can be nice on occasion, but meat without any at all, or meat with only salt like I said, isn't bland. It's fine, and IMO is usually nicer. But a lot of people just slam spices onto it and overpower the actual flavor of the meat or even vegetables etc. Getting mad at people for putting ketchup on a hot dog. It's one of the stupidest things in the world to dictate that mustard is the only condiment allowed to be on a hot dog. I don't even like ketchup, but it's so arbitrary to say you can't put it on a hot dog, but change the shape of the meat and the bread and now it's the only acceptable condiment. What possible reason could there be to have such an asinine distinction? What if you don't like mustard? Are you not allowed to eat hot dogs then? Have the food gods come to the land of mortals and declared it a sin to put a certain condiment on a food specifically meant to have condiments on it? Where did this even come from? Balsamic vinegar on a tomato mozzarella basil salad. Really, anytime tomatoes and balsamic vinaigrette are mixed, but even more so when there's basil involved. You think I'm wrong, and that's because you haven't let some good mozzarella, tomatoes, basil, good olive oil, and a little salt hang out in a bowl together for 30 minutes before. Never had American Food Day? Luckily for you, I can prepare a short little list of things you're missing out on. Number 1, jambalaya. Number 2, gumbo. Number 3, Cuban sandwich. Not from Cuba in reality, it was made in Miami. Number 4, Maine lobster roll. I dislike Maine lobster, prefer Florida spines, but it's good regardless. Number 5, chili. Number 6, the chopped cheese, classic NYC sandwich. Number 7, sausage and peppers. Number 8, pork loin sandwich. Number 9, meatloaf, if prepared correctly it's quite good. Number 10, classic hamburger. Number 11, BBQ everything. Number 12, checker pie. I fear your aversion to American food comes from misconceptions created by low-quality fast food. Sorry, not food but drink, putting milk in tea. I really like my UK family and friends, but putting milk into tea should be punishable by law. It is a sin against mankind. Nature put all the nice and healthy things into the tea leaves. They may taste a bit bitter, But that's okay. Then comes the British and add milk to their tea. The calcium of the milk binds with all the good stuff from the tea and makes it indigestible, turning a healthy drink into just water plus flavors.